Julie Duell. We have so many great things going on right here in Sparks. So let's dive right in and talk to Francine Burch. We just accepted a grant and I wanted to find out a little bit more about how that affects Sparks and especially downtown Sparks.
This is an exciting grant. We just received a grant from the Nevada Arts Council, and it's the first year that they provided for this grant. It's called a Community Impact Grant. We were the only city awarded, and the idea behind the grant is to make a big difference in the community. And the way we chose was we chose this building that was not being used for the last 10 years, and we decided to open up an art gallery with it.
So, and it's called the Depot, right? And it's just going to be opening up in August. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, it's going to be run by the Sierra Arts Foundation. It's going to be like a tiny pop-up gallery. We'll also have pop-up shows in there. Hopefully around Christmas time, we might have some Christmas vendors in there, but it's all going to be managed by the Sierra Arts Foundation.
Can artists come and just display their work in there? Is that what that's kind of about? Or?
Yeah, they go through the Sierra Arts Foundation. So the Sierra Arts Foundation is looking for artists right now. You can apply to be one of the artists in residence, and you can hang your art in there through the Sierra Arts Foundation.
And it's a transformation. I mean, I was in there the other day and it looks so good.
It's amazing. It was used for storage during special events, so there was just boxes and trash everywhere, and we brought in a bunch of volunteers thanks to 39 North. They brought in a bunch of volunteers, they painted it. Our Public Works Department just busted butt and got everything ready for it to be open. So now all we have to do is sign a contract and find some artists to hang some work.
That is awesome. Does that flow into the Together We See Sparks program that we have going on, or project, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Interesting. It is separate, but it did kind of flow out of the Together We See Sparks. The Together We See Sparks committee was doing a walkabout in the downtown area, and I took them to all the city buildings and all the cities, showed them all the city assets, and when they walked in that building, they looked around and said, we could be doing something with this now. So we decided to just go for it.
Tell us a little bit more about Together We See Sparks and how that is working to bring art in downtown Victorian Square.
So Together We See Sparks is a project that we developed with funds from the National Endowment for the Arts, and it was for a public engagement project to create an arts overlay for downtown. And that's a lot of like artsy kind of jargon, but what it is we're going out into the public and we're asking people what they'd like to see in the downtown area. And the unique way we've done it is we've employed 2 artists to do the public engagement. So all this summer we've had 2 artists at particular events. Our last artist will be at Rib Cook-Off. Her name is Jen Charbonneau, and she has an art exhibit that you can actually interact with and talk about your stories of the city of Sparks and how you've grown up here or you just moved here, and it's all going to be incorporated in the Sparks Overlay Plan.
So all in an effort to just really bring more art and even beauty and projects and things to downtown Sparks.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Very exciting. I also wanted to ask you, we also talked to the council at our last meeting about putting in for a $150,000 grant. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how it kind of coincides with what we've been talking about?
Yeah, so this will be pretty much the second phase of the Together We See Sparks. We will be able to use this 150 to match with the 150 that we already have to be able to purchase or commission art. And what's really nice is that now not only we'll have the plan by the time this is done, but we'll also have the community engagement part done, which is usually the most time-consuming part about commissioning or buying art.
So anything else you want to tell us about the exciting things that are going on in downtown, specifically about art and things like that?
I think the last thing I just want to remind everyone is that we are still taking polls and surveys. We're still doing bi-weekly polls on Facebook, and you can take the full survey at togethersparks.com. And we're still taking those through October.
So people can really give their input on what they want to see in downtown Sparks.
Yes, please do.
That sounds great. Thank you, Francine. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks.
My second guest today is Tawny Pele from our Parks and Recreation Department. He's going to talk a little bit about Golden Eagle Regional Park, which is really such a gem here in the city of Sparks. You did a presentation for our council this week. Can you kind of Tell us a little bit about Golden Eagle. What's it all about?
Golden Eagle was built in 2008, and it's become, just like you said, a gem for the city of Sparks. It generated $24.4 million in economic impact in 2018.
Wow, what does that mean for the city? How does that affect the city?
Basically in room nights, gas sales, food and beverage, entertainment. We brought in 1,175 teams from outside our area that are staying here in the Reno Sparks area, which was about 43,000 room nights. And that all the tax revenue that comes from that and the local businesses, it just generates a lot of money for the whole area. We have teams come back every year from all over the country. We have teams from New York, Hawaii, Arizona, Alaska, Florida, just about everywhere in the country. They're coming out here and enjoying themselves, and a lot of our tournaments are multiple days, anywhere from 5 to 9 days long. So they're here for a week and they're enjoying Lake Tahoe and everything the city of Sparks has to offer with the Legend Shopping Center and the water park and everything else.
I heard you say too that we don't get a lot of rain around here, which means you don't have to cancel very many tournaments.
No, that's one of the fortunate parts about our location is in 2018 we didn't cancel a single tournament due to weather. So that's very fortunate for us. Even when it does rain, the artificial turf fields drain very quickly, so we can get the games back on within an hour. So it's very fortunate. Tournament directors want to be here, teams want to be here because they know they're not going to get rained out.
That makes it unique as well, right, with the synthetic turf that we have. Tell us a little bit about that.
We have 1.4 million square feet of artificial turf on 15 fields at Golden Eagle. And artificial turf is fantastic because it's all weather all year round. We run tournaments from early January all the way through November, which in a lot of areas you can't do because your grass has to go dormant. You don't want to damage your natural surfaces, where the artificial turf can take that punishment year round, and it allows us to schedule more out there.
So you said we hosted 53 tournaments and we play all year, right? What types of sports do we play at Golden Eagle?
We play softball, youth, girls fast pitch, baseball, football, soccer, lacrosse. We have cross-country meets out there. We've even had a couple weddings held at Golden Eagle Regional Park.
Wow, and we bring in some income, right, from those tournaments and such?
Yeah, the city, just in pure rental fees, we made almost $180,000 last year. Not to mention the fees that we get from our local teams participating in our adult softball leagues and kickball leagues, revenue we make from lighting fees, assessment fees, and our concession stand and restaurant. We have a full sports bar located on the second floor, owned by Red's Golden Eagle Grill, which is fantastic.
Right, so people can come out, play pretty much any sports. You have not only tournaments, but practices and such pretty much all year round.
All the youth sports also play out there. We have about 4,500 kids each year that are playing Little League and soccer and football and other activities out at Golden Eagle on a regular basis. So just about every age you can see out there, from 3 up to 83.
And I know you also, when you were talking to the council, you showed a great aerial picture, and you said a lot of people think we photoshopped that it's not a real.
We have a couple photos that people have said, oh, you must have photoshopped that online, and other comments made to me with USA Softball of Nevada, and I laugh. I'm like, no, those are the hills located right next to it, and that's the beautiful blue skies that we experience most of the year. So they find it hard to believe.
Anything else you want to talk about with Golden Eagle that I may have missed? I know it's just a great gym here.
It's super busy. Our staff are wonderful to get the job they get done out there. It's just an incredible facility. We didn't know when we built it would be as big of a deal as it turned into, but I've been glad to be on the ride for the last 11 years and hope to keep it going for a long time to come.
Like you said, if we build it, they will come, and they sure did.
They sure did.
So, great. Thank you, Tony.
Thank
for
you
coming.
very much.
I appreciate it.
All righty.
My next guest is Ron Korman. He is our Public Works Maintenance Manager, and he is going to talk a little bit about some new vehicles that we're getting. Can you tell us a little bit about, I think we're getting 2 new vehicles, what they are and why we need them?
Sure. The first vehicle that we are going to be purchasing this year on fiscal 20 fleet replacement program is a new sewer line cleaning truck. They are very expensive, they're a very complex piece of equipment, and their job is to go out and make sure that our sewer lines keep flowing from people's houses all the way to the treatment plant. The truck is equipped with what we call a jet rotor hose, so it can run with high pressure water down the line and scour the line out. And then it's also equipped with a vacuum so that we can reach down into the manholes and we can vacuum out debris that might be clogging up the sewer system.
So it's called a Vactor truck, is that
The
true?
brand name in this
Is a
particular
Vactor,
one
okay.
is Vactor. It's a sewer line cleaning truck or machine, and this particular one that we're purchasing that went to council today is made by Vactor.
How important is it that we have these trucks? Because I know the one we have now is almost 20 years old. So obviously we maintain our fleet very, very well. How important is it that we get a new one right now?
It is important for the city to maintain a clean sewer system and storm drain system. These vehicles can be used in both systems. And so, we make sure that we maintain those trucks well. But because it's a vehicle and a piece of machinery, it does get to a point where it costs us more to maintain that equipment than the vehicle is worth. And so when we start seeing those costs really start to climb up and the downtime increase that the truck's not available because of needing repairs, then we start looking to replace them.
And that's the case as well with a new sweeper that we're also going to be getting.
Yes, it is. Our city has 6 street sweepers of different types. And the street sweeper that we had before council this afternoon is going to replace one that was about 13 years old. Street sweepers live in a very, very harsh environment. They're always kicking up dirt and rocks and grit. And they get the street sweeping mechanism on the trucks just gets eaten alive. And it costs the city a lot of money to maintain those trucks. So every so often we introduce a new one into the fleet and pull an old one out so that we can continue to keep our streets clean. And that also helps towards keeping our storm drains clean so that when there is a storm that less material gets caught down into the storm drains so that we can ensure that our storm drain system is flowing freely. The other thing about street sweepers that we're required by the EPA to pick up the salt sand after a snow event within 72 hours after the end of that storm. And so it's imperative that we have good running street sweepers available so that we can get out there and we can meet those EPA regulations.
My next guest is Michael Drinkwater. He's our treatment plant manager out at the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility. In our recent city council meeting, they approved some expenditures, but I thought it might be good to find out a little bit about Tumwharf first. What do we do at Tumwharf?
Julie, Tumwharf is the regional wastewater reclamation facility or treatment plant. We receive wastewater from all of Sparks, all of Spanish Springs, Sun Valley, and the city of Reno, south of Golden Valley and north of Holcomb Ranch Road, and then west to Mogul. So the vast majority of the Truckee Meadows discharges to Tumwharf. The water is treated through a number of processes to make it safe to return either to the Truckee River or to be used as irrigation water for ballparks and soccer fields, golf courses, and so on.
And I'm sure with the EPA and federal regulations and things, we have to maintain a certain standard out there, right, before we can release any kind of water back into the Truckee and that, correct?
Absolutely. Interestingly, we have one of the most strict discharge permits because the Truckee River flows, unlike most rivers in the United States, flows to a terminal lake as opposed to the ocean. Of course, it goes to Pyramid Lake. And Pyramid Lake is home to the kiwi, an endangered fish, and the cutthroat trout, a threatened fish. So our standards are fairly rigorous. We have a 3-step nitrogen removal process. Nitrogen, you might know, if discharged to the Truckee River, would support algae blooms, which consume oxygen out of water, which of course is detrimental to the fish. So we remove the nitrogen prior to discharge as much as we can to prevent that. And it's a 3-step process attacking ammonia and nitrate and nitrite.
What other expenditures did council approve recently?
Well, we have a digester repair. A digester is exactly what it sounds like. It's a place where biosolids are stored for about 21 days, where they're stabilized by bacteria prior to being sent to landfill. It's a harsh chemical environment inside this tank, so there's some special industrial coating on the steel and concrete to protect it, to prevent degradation. So this particular tank is in need of a recoating, and that along with some minor structural repairs to the actual tank itself, as well as a contract. The council approved the purchase of bleach from Thatcher Chemical Company. We use bleach as a disinfectant in the very last treatment process prior to discharge to the Truckee River. We use between 1,800 and 2,000 gallons of bleach a day, so it's a fairly large expenditure for us. When we buy chemicals, we try very hard to get the best price possible, and this was an opportunity to get a contract that had actually been bid by the city of Las Vegas.
In order to treat the waste, it does go through quite the chemical process. If people were to ask, well, gosh, is that good for the Truckee River? How does that work to go in there? What would your response be on that?
My response is absolutely. We have a very rigorous discharge standard, and one of the things we're required to do is to make sure that the chlorine in the bleach, once it has disinfected the water, is no longer available to the environment. So prior to discharging the disinfected water, we actually add another chemical that binds up the bleach so that it's not attacking the native bacteria in the Truckee River. So once the water goes back into the river, it's as close as possible to the river water in its natural state.
Wow. Anything else you want to talk to us about that just our viewers might want to know about Tumwater?
It is one of 5 treatment plants that serve the Truckee Meadows, but it is by far the largest. As I mentioned, it collects discharges from Holcomb Ranch Road all the way to Golden Valley, most of the city of Reno, all of the city of Sparks discharges to us. It's a 53-year-old facility, although it has been upgraded several times in those 5 decades. It is nonetheless sometimes shows some age, so we have a fairly aggressive program to rehabilitate those items as they come due, to ensure that it's always working, that we are always ready to treat the water to the appropriate standard prior to discharge, and that we never let water go that would be a threat to public health or to the environment.
And I think that's a really important piece of information for people to know. And I know in the next little while, we're going to start a series, just kind of some little facts about Tumwater, just to let people know what it's all about, what we do out there, and how important and how seriously we take it.
While everyone knows water is a critical resource in the valley, not so many people understand what happens to the water after it's been used. They know they flush it, it goes down a drain, and from there, it just goes away. But there's a fairly complicated process before that water gets back to the river that we're going to be discussing in some detail in those snippets you mentioned forthcoming.
Great. Thank you, Michael. I so appreciate the information. I know it's a lot of information for people to understand, so we'll be coming out with a few more little factoids coming right up about Tumwater.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. It's always happening here in Sparks. Thanks for watching this edition of Spotlight on Sparks.